Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. Mary Payton here with All About STEM Radio on Fishbowl Radio Network. I come to you every Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. I know every week I talk about how wonderful my guest is. I am just so blessed. OB, are you there? I'm just trying to make sure.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Hey, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Great. He is Skyping in from, are you New York or New Jersey?
New York.
New York. I haven't been there in a long time, but let me finish getting started. I want to tell y'all a little bit about this young man. All right, he has a master's degree in education, which you know me, I love teachers because I'm a retired one, also a retired service member. He is a medical recruiter. If some of your young people are looking to become doctors, and I'm so excited about that because I want to talk to him about a lot of the things that he does. But what has made me so proud and what has made me so happy to be connected with him, he is the founder of Diversity Premedical, LLC, which is part of the medical recruiting. But he also hosts a podcast on YouTube that y'all have got to go and listen to called Lessons Learned, whereas he talks to doctors and people in the medical profession, to let us know what they're doing, what it's about, because people will tell you, or kids will tell you, I want to be a doctor. Well, what type of doctor do you want to be? Just a doctor. OB will tell you there are a lot of different types of doctors out there, and he has written that in his book, and we're going to talk about his books in just a little bit. So, OB, can you say hello to our guest?
Hello. Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to share a lot of things with you.
So, OB, I'm going to ask you a question.
Please.
What's your favorite food?
My favorite food, I must say, would probably be it's a Puerto Rican treat during the holidays, Benin roast pork.
Okay. What's your favorite car?
Good question. I gotta think about that. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay. If you could travel to anywhere, where would it be? Now, I'm not forget the favorite car, so think about that too.
I'd say the Caribbean, the islands of the Caribbean. Definitely Puerto Rico. I just want to feel that the ocean.
Oh yeah.
The warmth. Absolutely.
Okay. You know where I got this from? I'm stealing from your show. Those questions that you ask everybody.
And I would say my favorite car is probably my most reliable. My family and I, we love Subarus. Mm-hmm. We're in a part of New York where it snows and going up a mountain. We just love the way it handles.
Okay.
So it's a good, reliable car.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm in the Toyota family. I love me a Toyota. Although my sister thinks I should buy another car. But hey, my car is 10 years old and it still runs very well. So I'm not going to complain. So, Mr. Figueroa, would you give us a little bit about your background and, your journey to where you are?
Sure. Well, thank you again. I'm happy to share that because I want people to understand how I could be helpful, right? Like my name literally, Obed, means servant of, right? Servant to God, of God, excuse me. And so I really think that speaks to who I am, to be of service. And my background has, for a long period of time, decades, been in education. So I cover the full scope from primary education all the way to graduate school, helping schools promote, but also manage their enrollment. So for a significant part of my time has been in medical education, where I am helping to establish medical schools, and then designing the enrollment process and then managing that and helping them prepare for accreditation reviews. So having said that, it's given me an expertise in all the span of my experience where I can be helpful to institutions in helping them to promote their programs and or manage their process so that a person can have a positive experience when they're going through it, feel nurtured, supported, and encouraged to be able to be successful in getting enrolled in schools. And having said that, I've interviewed thousands of people over this period of time, and I listen to their stories, and those stories have always stayed with me. What was their journey to get them to the point where they're applying to schools, whether it be for schools to become a doctor, or whether it be a student going into undergrad or a student going into high school. Everyone has their unique story, and I've listened to them, and I've asked them questions to challenge them, to make sure that they're ready for these experiences as well. So their challenges were shared, and it always motivated with me, and it stuck with me. You had those challenges, so I'm sure thousands of others have had those same challenges. How could I be helpful in my writing to be able to reach our kids when they're younger and kind of get them on a positive track, or get them to understand that, yes, you're not the only one struggling, because there are many others that had struggles, but then also give solutions for them to consider, what might fit with them so that they can be successful in their path and not feel alone. So I'll pause there if you want to ask any other question.
And you just hit something that resonates. Talking to them, finding out where they are, what they need, what makes them comfortable. Because a lot of young people, and it does not matter their skin tone or their backgrounds, they'll jump into a university program or a college program and then not feel like they belong, or can't find their place.
Yeah, that hurts. That always hurts to hear that, but that's the truth of our reality. And I'll give a quick example. I had established some undergraduate schools in Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy and Brownsville. My family knows that was really something I was passionate about, as well as the medical schools too, but more so this because it was really working with non-traditional students, first gen going into school, or anyone that had gaps, or even older students going back to school. So I started this program to 2 sites in Brooklyn, and it was a fragile time, right? For them. And I was so blessed to be able to be a person of authority, to be able to nurture them in, make them feel welcome, because these higher education institutions, many of them are, I'm trying to think of nice words to say, maybe not so friendly.
They're scary.
This come to the plate perfect. You need to step up perfect, because it's so competitive. I'm going on to the next person. Well, I had a process where you don't have to be perfect. Let's have a conversation. Yes, you're 40 years old going back to school. I'm not judging that. Let's talk about how are you ready, or how can you get ready, right? So being a person of authority, I created an environment where they felt welcome to come in and have those kind of conversations. But I want to get to a point that you made. After I did that nurturing, and they were with me for about a year or so, then they pipelined into the main campus and pushed through to finish their degrees, right? I then had heard some stories from people that continued to follow them if I wasn't, or they weren't following me, was that when they got to graduate school, they felt that coldness. And then I thought to myself, wow, was that something I missed? That I didn't continue to have them connected to, I want to say like-minded people, but people that could relate to their walk and continue to nurture them at the higher level. So they had all this support systems in place at the undergraduate level, then get to grad school, and it's like they felt ignored. Yes, they weren't from the ideal community as a person might judge them on, but very cold and a minority when they were used to being in the community where they were the majority. And so, to hear this, that it still is a reality, it hurts me. But there are many soldiers out there. We just have to continue to work with our young and get them connected, be even beyond our scope when they leave us, right? Almost like with our children, when your children leave you, how can they still be connected? if not just to you, their circle should be bigger because the world is bigger than just the parents, right? So
True.
to prepare them so that they can continue to get supports. And so I had students go to grad school after they left me and experience exactly what you had mentioned. And so it was a wake up call. And I hope that people are listening to that because,
Yeah.
it gets lonelier the higher you go up. Particularly when you go into the medical profession or higher level professions. Let's say you have your MBA, your JD. Our numbers go down.
Yes, they
You
do.
become less of more of a minority in these spaces. How are you connected? And I'm aware. And so this is what I mostly share when I'm connecting with people, like even beyond me. In the medical profession, there are professional associations. I make sure they're
Yes.
aware of that because they're not, right? So there are many levels that are within these professional associations that will specifically address the needs of people of color going into those spaces. And people of color that are first gen most often
Yes.
don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know. So we as professionals have to make sure that they're aware of them so that way they get into these spaces because now they're first gen going in becoming a doctor, where are their supports when they're doing research and they're the only brown person in that space,
And
and don't
that's
feel
so
support.
true.
But go
That
ahead.
No, I was gonna say that what you're saying is so true
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
so
yeah,
needed.
it
Hmm.
really is. But go ahead.
And you don't always have people that are secure enough in themselves to find their own group or their own family or their own support or their own mentors. They'll just, well, I'm here. I'm gonna do the best I can. I'm gonna, do everything on my own. And you
Hmm.
can't be like that. You need to have mentorship and support. I mean, even if you're a pre-med student, because that's not easy. And a lot of times, this is the first time you're away from home.
Hmm. Yep. Yep. And check this out. So I've also heard of them going into this. Oh wow, there's so much to unpack. When they go into these professions,
Yep.
right? And this is not to knock the medical profession. It's just
No,
to
no.
make it is truth in all these higher level positions. Whether it be a lawyer, whether it be a doctor, any other profession, they get into these spaces, and sometimes they face. I've heard of situations where they're in residency, trying to, they're in the grind, trying to do what they need to do to get to the end, right?
Yes.
And they're faced with obstacles that would blow your mind. And the first one that I'll jump into is racism.
Oh, yeah.
Now, and they're caught in a position to which they absolutely need support. They can't make noise. They can't make big noise because they don't want to jeopardize their position that they got to do these 2 to 3 years to get to the finish line. They can't blow things up because someone
Hmm.
said flat out, you are the N word, or you are this, or you are that, a patient, right?
Oh, yeah.
Or sometimes, administrators, they don't want to jeopardize their standing because they got to get to the finish line. They don't spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? And hard work and time, and they can't, it is something that they have to swallow at times, and they should not just sit and internalize that. Get connected to like-minded
Hmm.
people that understand that, and they can help you get through that, because there is a way to navigate that so that you can not allow somebody to mess up your path.
Yeah. It's
And,
hard. It's
and
hard to stay the course sometimes.
hmm
It's
that's why
hard.
you can't be alone with that.
Mm-mm.
Cannot.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, I am interviewing with Mr. Obed Figueroa. He is the founder of Diversity Premedical, LLC, and talk show host for Lessons Learned, and also a published author. And we're going to talk about all that in just a minute and lay this out, because this is already a good conversation. Because we're talking about how students are going into wanting to be in medical school or go to be a doctor, and may or may not feel comfortable, and sometimes you have to bite the bullet. But Obed,
Yeah.
you
Yes.
do you host a YouTube show
Hmm.
called Lessons Learned. Well, a minute.
Yes.
Let me back up a little bit before I get into that, because I want to close out what we were talking about.
Hmm.
When you're talking about some of these students that are struggling or having an issue with getting in, fitting in, and staying in, that's a comment I learned a long time ago. What does Diversity Premedical LLC help them with? How do you, get them over the hump? How do you make them comfortable in their career choice?
Right. So I definitely want to make sure that we acknowledge, right, like there are a significant amount of students that are doing well
Oh,
of color,
yes.
right? Different hues, different backgrounds, Black, Hispanic, Asian. But, we're referring to the ones that are, might be having a hard time
Yes.
at whatever the given stage, or even at undergrad level, same thing. So we're really talking about student supports. I think what I offer them and or professionals is that insight to understand how to manage
Yes.
the process. Definitely, applying to medical school, how to, get connected, get exposed so that your profile can be enhanced as well. What as you apply to medical school, but then also because of my experience, getting them connected to others, whether it be professional associations. They light up when I tell them that because some don't know that at a undergrad level you have medical association support. This is when you're going for when
Yeah.
you're going through your bachelor's, and then when you're in medical school, you have professional association support. Some know, some don't know that,
Yeah.
right? And I'm speaking specifically to those of color because it's a unique walk. If anybody that says I'm colorblind, there's nothing, there's no different. There is absolutely a difference at 100%. I can't accept anything otherwise. I've seen it, I've lived it. And that's not to imply people of color all have, severe struggles. Like, no. And, it's a spectrum that we're talking about. So I
Yes.
don't want for anyone to think that with that assumption. But we are talking about that there's a unique walk, that there's unique supports that are needed. And why these professional associations exist.
Yes.
Student Medical Association, SNMA. When you're a doctor, it's NMA, National Medical Association, when you're a doctor. So these things exist for a reason. And started by, I believe was that Hampton? I think it was Hampton University that started this professional association, Student Medical Association, SNMA, oh my God, SNMA. And often, my point is that I do share these when I go into these conversations with students, because they tell me things, and I say, here's my advice, and here's supports that you can consider, and let them pick and choose. It's not for me to dictate. It's for me to lay out resources and let them explore and see what's a fit for their life.
And you just hit on something else. Resources. Everything you're laying out here are resources. And if you don't know what resources are available to you, it's not that you're going to struggle, but you may have to take the long way around to get to somewhere, or you may not be able to make the connections immediately that you need to be successful. If you're trying to figure out where where you're going to go for residency, or even applying to a medical school, I have heard that is like a serious process.
Yes, yes. Over 55,000 apply and only 22,000 get in. So it's like 42% are accepted into medical school. So, it's competitive. It's competitive. And there are committees that screen, and so I had the privilege to be able to establish, as we were establishing the new medical school in Harlem, to work and establish the committee process, and oversee it, right? And present to them once we established, and we had conversations about all these hundreds and hundreds of applicants that were applying. And, biases come out, right?
Yeah.
And so it was a healthy experience and a learning experience for all involved, to be challenged, even people of color have biases, right? So It was really good to experience that. But, I remember there were certain, and not to be specific with one school, but I've worked with, 4 medical schools where I'm managing enrollment. And I remember one of them was making specific judgments about people that didn't have that perfect diction of English, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about amazing credentials. And here's a bias of mine. I know that, and it may upset some people, but in the U.S. we're not number one in the world for the quality level of our education, right?
True.
And don't get me wrong, I love America, and I love the U.S. Come on, so not saying that, but it's interesting. I do know that there are some European countries that are phenomenal, much more better with their primary education,
Yes.
where it's required for you to get your bachelor's and your master's and another level up just to be able to compete, right? So these other countries don't have all these multiple levels of degrees because of the standard of education that they deliver. Now, my point is, there are some places that give this judgment about they don't speak perfect English, right? And so this bias was coming out, even though they're phenomenal in the sciences, phenomenal in math.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to do some corrections on that point. Are we not seeing the same transcript? And I remember oh my God, I still to this day am connected to so many of them that are now doctors, where they may not have gotten as far as they have because of judgments that I kind of checked. And I remember the insecurity of them coming into me as undergrad and not feeling like, okay, yes, my English is not perfect, but my God, your GPA is phenomenal, and just push through and work on your diction. But and one in particular stands out. He has his own medical practice, for crying out loud. And I remember him, with the feeling the judgment of his English. And he knows who I'm talking. He knows when I speak, if he's listening. And I am extremely proud he's got his own practice in Florida, regardless of his not being perfect with English, because he was phenomenal in the sciences.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you can become a doctor. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
You just find that right door to open, get that support. And yes, you can become a doctor. You don't have to be perfect with the 4.0.
And I want to ask you a question about when, let's say you're in high school and you've made this decision. You're a freshman in high school. You're not a junior or senior. You're a freshman in high school and you've made this decision that you want to be a doctor,
Mm-hmm.
or go to medical school. You may not have chosen which field you're going into, but you want to go to medical school.
Mm-hmm.
What type of preparation should you start doing early? Because some of us, we wait till, I'm a junior in high school. Oop, I think I want to go to med school. But we have not taken those courses because, I'm a hard science teacher. I teach biology, chemistry, physics.
So Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a lot of them that went into the sciences. But what are you recommending that they think about when they start to say, I want to be a doctor?
Well, you're right. I mean, definitely the science is getting exposed as much. We're talking at a high school level.
Yes.
It's such an early time, but some will know that early. And I would just say I would encourage, as I do, definitely dig hard into the sciences, take upper level sciences as much as you can, do summer programs. Absolutely.
Oh, I love that comment.
Yeah, summer programs. You want to they should have exposure, because what's going to happen when they get to the point in which they're submitting to medical schools, right? Where they still have 4 more years after high school before they apply to med. So they have lots of time to continue to get exposed through volunteerism, So increasing the sciences, work, and also develop your math, and then get exposure to the field of health sciences. So clinics, volunteer at clinics, volunteer at hospitals when you're able, when you get to that age that you can, or do, you might find, there are tons of summer programs that are STEM based.
Okay.
Yeah, we're talking early age. And so in one of my books, I actually list, summer programs for New York State. And then I also list high schools.
In this one right here.
yeah, that are STEM based. So they really should get that exposure because that's going to light them up to take them to the next level, which is, undergraduate education. And then just continue to do that. Even when you get after you graduate high school,
Mm-hmm.
now you're in college, keep doing that, get the exposure, work on the sciences, develop in the sciences and math, and keep getting exposed little by little. You never want to fully overwhelm
Yes.
because what they'll do sometimes at the undergrad level is that they'll take all the courses that they need just to be able to get financial aid, full-time courses, and they know, okay, but I gotta, Mr. Figueroa said I gotta get exposed. So now they're doing all this extracurricular
Mm-hmm.
to the point, all at once until the point in which you can't balance it all. So they wind up crashing and the grades suffer. So I would never want someone to do that. You have 4 years or whatever, you do, a little bit here, a little bit there, but not to, you don't want your grades to suffer.
True. True.
So if it's just one volunteering opportunity, every summer, then I'm okay with that. I think that would look nice on a profile when you apply to med school versus you're trying to do 3 at the same time you're doing full-time classes every year. That's just too much.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, find that one that you're going to be satisfied doing it. And 2, you're going to do a good job at it.
Mm-hmm.
So I totally agree. I totally agree. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just now joining us, I am interviewing Mr. Obed Figueroa. He is the founder of Diversity Premedical LLC. And the host of Lessons Learned. Now, I want to transition into Lessons Learned. How did that come about? And give us a little information about it.
Sure. So that was, I believe, around the pandemic time.
Yeah.
And I'm just that personality where I need to be active. I need to be engaged to feel, just content within myself, right? And so I felt like, okay, I can't go out and connect the way in which I typically do. And so how can I give back? How can I reach, the people?
Yeah.
And so I have a large network. And so I tapped into that network and thought, well, let me interview doctors, practicing physicians that are in my network, either went through me to get to become a doctor or not, just from my network, share their story, with the intention of I wanted our young people to be able to listen to this. And so it started with the YouTube, and then I just what I did is I turned the YouTube into podcasts, and so I didn't do 2 different things. I just did it both at once, so that you have the opportunity to listen to audio. Now, so when I mentioned I interviewed thousands of students, they're sharing their story. Many times, you hear the positives, you hear the inspirings, but then you also hear, well, I wish I would have knew this, or I didn't know that, or I had this situation that affected me and my grades suffer, and I really feel bad about it. I got a C, in biology, and and then so all these things, I was hearing all these things, and I said, well, let me see what I can do to give back to our young people. And so what I did, I created a structure of the interviews where I'm really looking at the practicing physician, having a conversation all the way from their experience from high school, if not a little bit before, all the way to the point in which they're practicing physician. And what I'm doing is I take a moment of those times and dig in a little deep to say, did you experience challenges? And when you did at high school, how did you course correct? What did you do to make things better? So that a child can hear that, oh my God, this is a dean. This is a dean at a major medical school, and he is saying live he had a D, or he failed a course in medical school, or he had to repeat a year, and he's still a doctor now.
Yep. And that brings reality. That,
yes.
That makes a connection. I'm
Because
sorry for breaking in on you.
No, because most often there's this perception, and the doctors love when I say this to them, is that everybody thinks you are a practicing physician, you're a surgeon. Everybody thinks you must have always been perfect, no blemishes. right? And no, that is so not real. That is so not real. And so I love when they share those things so that our young people can see, not only see the reflection of themselves, which is equally as powerful, but actually to say, wow, like he had a similar walk like I did,
Yep.
or thank you for that lesson, doctor, because now I know how to manage that experience when I feel a hardship, or that doctor had to be humbled during that experience,
Yes.
right? And a kid hears that, and it's like, maybe I need to humble myself and allow somebody to help me, right? Academically, in any other way. And so they're powerful conversations which allow a young person to see that yes, this is a human just like you, they're human, and and be inspired by it.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, that makes a huge difference. Huge difference. Teresa, how things going over there? I'm just checking in on you. All right. I have to check in on my producer. They gave me a new one. I love her to death. She is so sweet. Thank you so much, Miss Teresa. Okay. So the doctors that you talked to, why did you feel the need to talk to them other than, you wanted the pre-med students or the students to see that you have a variety of struggles. Everybody's not perfect.
Hmm. I also wanted them to see reflection of themselves.
Okay.
Someone, so we can't, I could not physically present all my pre-meds because it's quite several hundred in my network. I think it's over 1,000 now. I don't have the opportunity where I'm doing conferences where they could actually be connected physically, to see them.
Yeah.
So I said, let me present them visuals, let them see them audio and video, so that they can see, yes, this is a person of color, a man of color, a woman of color, Black, Hispanic, Asian as well. I wanted them to see that.
And they were in all
Because,
different facets of medicine.
yeah, different specialties, absolutely. And I want, teachers also use this as a tool to be able to present to their class. Let's hear this story of this physician, so a young person can look at that and go, oh, okay, all right, that's how that person did that walk. Most times, if you're first gen, it is not normal to have a conversation about the walk towards medicine.
Yes.
It's unfamiliar, right? I'm not saying anything negative about our elders, but if it's not familiar, then you don't know the walk. And so I wanted to present the walk to them, and these walks are so. Let me tell you, these stories, I still get chills. Here's a powerful one. Pediatrician.
Yes.
Dr. Peters, a lovely, lovely man of God. Oh my man, he's just amazing. Anybody who is connected to him as a student, you're blessed. His mother, oh God, his mother was a maid. I want to say, I believe it's Chicago, for a doctor. And so she would bring him to this doctor's house when he was a baby to clean the doctor's house.
Mm-hmm.
Check this out. The doctor was the first female doctor in medical school. She was from another country. She was a white woman, but she was the first female to enter medical school and graduate. I actually posted a picture on the YouTube to show her. She's the only one sitting in the class, the medical class.
Yep.
So her name is posted. I had to get homage to that. Her name is posted. So forgive me that I can't recall it now, but it definitely is on the YouTube. Here's the beauty of this. So this woman, who totally understands about being a minority, even though she was white, woman, within a class of all male students studying to become a doctor. So you could imagine what she faced back in those days. His mother's going to this woman's house to clean her house. He's sitting in the house waiting for his mother to finish doing her job. His mother didn't go to college. I don't think she even finished high school. He's sitting in this woman's house. He's picking up books as a baby, getting older, looking at pictures, looking at anatomy things, and just fascinated by the pictures. As he's getting older and older, she sees this female doctor. So she goes, and she starts nurturing that. And she starts feeding him more information, more information, more information. As he's getting older, now he's lit up, he's exposed, he has access to someone to have those conversations about healthcare, and the challenges and or process, right? Because his mother didn't know, and
Yep.
she was open to allowing that conversation. He is now a pediatrician who actually is giving back, has always given back, doing mission trips. He takes undergraduate students to Jamaica, to Haiti to do missionary trips, to do healthcare. He's running a medical school as a dean over in Florida. I mean, do you see what I'm saying? It's incredible. It's incredible if we get our kids connected.
And Obed, I just love all of this because the doctors that you talk to are all different, different facets, different backgrounds. Nobody is cookie cutter in this field.
Nope.
And I mean, I've listened to several of your lessons learned,
Yep.
and I'm like, wait a minute, where did he find this person? I mean, these are some amazing people that you're talking to.
They
So,
really are.
other than YouTube, where else can someone find your podcast for lessons learned?
Right. So the podcasts, I just converted those conversations to podcasts. There are apps for this, and so it's definitely on Apple. I thought that was
Okay.
something most people are using. So same title, same I'm the same host with my name through Apple and Spotify as well. So if a person's just on a bike, and they want to just ride and listen to the conversations, plug in and listen to it through via audio.
Okay, great. Because y'all have got to listen to some of these, because we have our young people, and in some cases you have people who decide they want to go to medical school later in life. These are people in the professions, in the different professions. Because if you say I want to be a doctor, there are so many different types of doctors out there. And
Absolutely.
I know. And this is a way to kind of hear their voice about what they do. Now, Obed, I am getting ready to transition. We're talking about the different types of doctors. Your book, Marcus Learns About the Different Types of Doctors. This is, I love this book.
Thank you.
So how did this book come about?
It's from all those stories that all the interviews that I conducted, and listening to them. And actually, I believe I note that in the book.
Yes.
That I was listening, so that all my pre-med students know, like, this is, something that they influenced me unbeknownst to them to do. And so, when I heard throughout the years, I didn't know. I wish I'd known sooner. I thought to myself, okay, well, how can I go back, way back, catch them way before high school?
Yes.
And so the first book is really talking to for elementary school kids. So first, second, third grade. And it's, for that level, it's big visuals and less content.
Yes.
And so that's exactly what my intention was, to show the big image of a podiatric doctor holding a foot. And they may go, ew. However, I got a reaction, and I got them to look at that image. And when they see podiatric, they could say, what is that? If they do, right?
Yeah.
The same thing is for an osteopathic doctor. So I have experience with that, opening up DO schools, osteopathic schools, which are, highest level of medical profession, same as MD for the level. I'm able to let them hear that word for the first time, ask questions about that, see that practitioner in practice. So my first book is really showing the practitioner in practice, big visual, so a kid can go, what? What is that? And then we also show, obviously, MD. We also show dentists. So the dentist is going in the mouth. The kid gets to see that image and go, I remember that experience. That's a dentist. And they literally get lit up and shouting out, I know that one. And so I have like a game that I play with them for the first book, so that they can, I'm presenting the tools of these professionals in my game with them, and I let them shout out.
Love
Do you know
this.
what this tool is? Who uses that tool? And they'll just raise their hand. I know it's a dentist, Mr. Figueroa, a dentist. But, and so again, my intention: get them to ask questions, get them exposed, let them see images of a practitioner, let them see images of themselves as a practitioner, so they can connect to that and feel like, that's something I want to do, or maybe I'm going to ask questions.
And I like how you put the book together. Uh, it was the grandmother who set it up for him to go through this clinic to speak to all of these doctors because he wants to be a doctor. And it educated the second grader because Marcus is a second grader.
Yeah.
It piqued his interest. And I want to go back to what you said in the beginning. We've already gone full circle in what you're talking about. Your second book talks about Marcus shares his friends' interest in STEM. This is the second book. I love this book because it's laid out and it talks about things in your neighborhood that you can go to pique your interest in STEM. What
Correct.
to do in summer, library trips, talks at home. I love this
Thank
book.
you.
I talked to a young man not long ago at school because for those of y'all who know, I am the 65-year-old undergraduate. I'm getting an associate's degree because I don't have one, and I'm loving every second of it. But in that book, you also have list of places and things that students can do or young people can do that have interest in your area. Which I know all of these are in New York, but people, y'all got to look in your own area and find programs. So
Yeah.
why was that book so important to you?
Yeah, so very intentional. The second one, I wanted to leave. Let me just back up because I do want to say the first one was really focusing on Marcus. Again, all Bronx based. Marcus and his, grandmother utilizing resources in their community. The second book, he's a little older, so now he's sharing his friends' interests in STEAM, which adds the A for the arts. And I wanted to, bring in some girl power, so it wasn't just, male focused. And so you see that you learn about his different friends who for different backgrounds and different genders. And so you hear their stories and why they like what they're doing or why they're exploring what they're, why they're doing that. But then I end it after you hear about all their stories and how they're thinking, let me share one thing that I wanted to say with the second book is that I'll give an example. Marcus and his friends too have other issues, but I wanted to illustrate a young person, and Marcus is doing this, where he has anxiety when he's taking an exam.
Yes.
And so he shares that experience. He's vulnerable to share that experience. And then he is directed to go to see someone to have a conversation about how do you deal with that? How do you improve your studying? How do you improve your test taking? How do you deal with test anxiety? And they talk about, in part, meditation. And so there's a conversation about meditation. So that was my strategy in the second book, like show the vulnerability of these characters, how they develop over time. So you learn that it's shared. And then to your point, it ends with parent and teacher resources so that you could see all the high schools that are STEAM-based or STEM-based, I should say. And then you see all of the also these summer programs that a parent can consider. And then again, you have to do the research to see if they're still open, if not shut down because of COVID. But you have, several dozens to look at. And in New York City, we have an abundance. We have an abundance.
And we have an abundance here also.
Nice.
It's just reaching out and finding them and getting involved.
Yes.
So, Obed, you're not going to believe this. We have 5 minutes left.
Oh, wow.
Can you?
That went by quick.
I know, but it's such good information.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to the second book real quick, and then we'll do closing in a little bit. But in the second book, what has been like the most important thing, the most important takeaway for a student or a parent or a teacher? Because we can all
Yeah.
use this book.
I believe that, okay, so with the story content, I would
Yes.
say what is most powerful is that you are seeing people of different ages,
Yep.
different backgrounds, gender, and also ethnicity, how they are all different, but yet they still find commonality and still can connect and have fun with each other and learn from each other. You see the vulnerability of the characters, you see how they're thinking with uncertainty. So a child can, and I didn't want to put perfect people in the book. I
Okay.
wanted them to be vulnerable and curious, and how I wanted the thinking to come out to a child so they can go, oh, I can relate to that. Sometimes I feel like that. And they're suggesting to do what? Well, that character did what? And then for administrators, I would just say, it's a good tool for you to use in your class because it shows it, particularly if you're in New York City or any urban environment, I believe there's a lot of relatability within this book and these characters.
Yes.
Young people can connect to.
Yes.
And then also, the resources that you can direct parents to. We have a wonderful program out here called Mentoring in Medicine. It's another program where Dr. Lynn Holden's been doing this for many years in Harlem, where she exposes, students from, middle school, high school, all the way to undergraduate school, getting them exposed to conversation and conferences and workshops to nurture and mentor our young, so they feel supported for this walk towards healthcare, whether it be doctor or any other profession within medicine.
And that's mentoring medicine?
Mentoring in medicine is a real wonderful.
Okay.
And one other I have to mention, Barbershop Books. Oh my God. Barbershop Books is something that's an amazing project out here. Irby, I'm trying to think of his Alvin Irby, started Barbershop Books. Wonderful concept, putting bookshelves in barbershops. So he partners with them. And, so the books are sitting in front of the kids, when they're getting their haircuts. And so they could actually read a book when they're getting a haircut.
I saw something like that on Instagram.
He's being nominated for a national hero with that CNN national hero. He's one of the candidates.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So that's Harlem based. And so, I went to one of his, ceremonies, and it was just amazing. He's an amazing person. And the idea is brilliant. This is promoting literacy, and so, anybody wants to go in a conversation with him, to be in partnership with him, please do, because we're getting the books to our kids, and there's no, you have to give me money, to the child. It's get that book and, put it in your hand and start the conversation. And the barbers are doing that. They're trained to do that.
Okay. I've got that written down too.
Amazing.
This is amazing. Well, we have like 2 minutes left. Is there any person you want to give a shout out to before Teresa, because she's waving her hands over there at me and smiling, throws me off of here? Teresa, I love you. Yes.
So I think I mentioned two big organizations, which I wanted to make sure. Those are foot soldiers out there.
Thank you.
If I could think of any others, I would love to share, because again, it's beyond me. It's let's connect our people, to these resources. And there are a lot of soldiers out there. So I mentioned the SNMA because I want the science students to know about them. Google it, get connected. They support you. It's conversations on all levels, so you don't feel alone in this space when you sit in that biochemistry and you don't see any other like you. Believe me, I've walked across Broadway with several hundred in tuxes during conventions that would blow your mind. You don't see that on the news, but I'm telling you, I've walked with them. I've seen several hundred like you that are inspired to go into sciences. So it's out there. It's out there.
All right. Obed, I want to thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been interviewing a wonderful young man, Obed Figueroa. He's an author, he is an educator, he's a medical recruiter, and the founder of Diversity Premedical LLC. Hey, y'all seek him out. And he has given me a wonderful end to my November, which I always use for authors. And don't forget to pick up his 2 books. And I will see y'all again next week. I'll be starting up a series of interviewing students from TCC in film, television, radio, and film, and seeing what they're talking about. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Dr. Payton. Thank you.